A new bipartisan bill is before the legislature right now that proposes to bring whole milk back to school cafeterias. Some advocate for its return, whole milk's return, citing nutritional benefits, while others are cautioning against it, referencing these ongoing concerns about saturated fat. So if you are a parent navigating school lunch, you might be left wondering, is whole milk good or bad? And what should I be thinking about this? So let's talk about the science and its implications. Hi, I'm Dr. Kiyah Duffey, nutrition expert, entrepreneur, speaker, and mom of 3. I help busy, health-conscious parents transform their families' relationships with food. Okay, so let's talk about what's happening. In 2010, the Healthy Hunger-Free Kids Act mandated that schools serve only non-fat or low-fat milk as part of a broader effort to reduce childhood obesity, specifically by trying to lower saturated fat intake in school meals, or available saturated fat in school meals. As an interesting sidebar here, although really critical to this debate, chocolate milk or other flavored milks that contained high amounts of added sugars, as long as they were also low fat, were allowed under that 2010 Act. Anyway, now the Whole Milk for Healthy Kids Act seeks to reverse that earlier act, allowing schools to again offer whole and 2% milk. So proponents argue whole milk is more satiating, it naturally provides essential vitamin A and D, and it may encourage kids to consume more milk. Opponents of this bill contend that whole milk contains higher levels of saturated fat, and that skim milk is fortified with those essential vitamins, so they're basically equal, that it could potentially contribute to an increased caloric intake, and that reintroducing this can undermine previous public health efforts. You know, I've had conversations with parents who say their kids won't drink milk at school because they're not used to drinking skim. And I've heard from others who are shocked, frankly, that we're even having this debate, that whole milk is even coming back to the table because they haven't bought anything but 1% in like a decade. And you know, beyond what any parent might be saying or feeling, I think it's really important that we examine the scientific evidence surrounding milk fat and children's health. So, what do we actually know? Recent studies have explored the relationship between milk fat content and children's health outcomes. A systematic review and meta-analysis of 28 studies involving more than 20,000 children found that those who consumed whole milk had a 40% lower odds of being overweight or obese compared to those who consumed reduced fat milk. Another prospective study indicated that higher consumption of 2% milk in early childhood was associated with a 40% lower risk of overweight or obesity in adolescents. So on the whole, no pun intended, these findings suggest that whole milk may not be as detrimental as we once thought. Now, with that being said, I think it is important that we note that most of these studies are observational, and it's really a randomized controlled trial that we need to really truly examine causality. And you know, context here also matters. Whole or 1% milk on their own, they aren't automatically good or bad. It really depends on how it's consumed, what it's paired with, and who it's for, right? I mean, a cup of whole milk alongside a balanced lunch, great. But low-fat chocolate milk with more than 20 grams of added sugars paired with a bag of chips and a sleeve of Oreo cookies, well, that's a different story, and it's not the milk's fault. The type of milk served is just one aspect of a child's overall diet. And, you know, for many kids, especially those from low-income families, school meals can be a primary source of nutrition. So ensuring that these meals are both nutritious and satisfying, it's essential. More than 20 million kids rely on free or reduced price school lunches every day. And for many of them, this may be the most consistent meal that they get. So offering a more satisfying, calorie-dense option like whole milk, well, it might actually help close some of the nutrition gaps we see, not widen them. And what's more, nutrition guidance is changing all the time. It's evolving. The 2025 Dietary Guidelines Advisory Committee has demonstrated this recently, emphasizing the importance of flexibility and cultural inclusivity in their dietary recommendations. You know, for the first time, they're including things like eat healthy your way, recognizing that healthy looks different to different people across different communities, that lots of different things foods can be part of a healthy diet, and that a healthy diet can look different for you and for me. So, here's my take on the whole thing. I don't think that whole milk is bad. And I don't think that low-fat milk is necessarily better. Based on the science that I've read, based on the evidence that I've seen, the right choice depends on a lot of different things, including your kids' needs, what the rest of their meals look like. In our house, we've made different choices at different times. We used whole milk a lot when our kids were younger, as toddlers, because we felt that's what they needed. And we've chosen 2% or 1% most of the time as they've gotten older because they eat a balanced diet. Right now, in the fridge, I went shopping this weekend, we have whole milk, 2% milk, heavy cream, and buttermilk, because I use all of those different milks for different purposes. And frankly, because my kids aren't picky when they're pouring it on their cereal. So instead of asking, which milk is the healthiest? Maybe a better question for us to ask is, what helps our kids feel nourished, satisfied, and respected at mealtimes? Because that answer might look different for you than it does for me. And that's okay. So if you're not sure what kind of milk you want to serve or that you should serve, I would say the evidence is mixed. Ask what feels good to your body and to your kids' bodies. What keeps them full between meals and therefore helps reduce between meal snacking? And what do the rest of their meals look like? And what do they really need to get out of this milk? Because, again, milk is just part of the meal. This mindset shift and this awareness, that's really the goal. So the debate over whole milk in schools, really it underscores this evolving understanding and evolving nutrition science. And as research continues to shed light on the impacts and the relationship of dietary fat to health, I think it's essential that we all remain informed and adaptable. Whether schools serve whole milk or low-fat milk, the focus should remain on providing nourishing, satisfying meals that can serve the diverse needs of the students they serve. So let's stop asking what's perfect, what's right, what we should do. Let's talk about what's possible and what is sustainable. If this resonates at all, you can check out my blog, a link below, to where I talk about this fully, as well as talking about how the dietary guidelines fit into this. And let me know in the comments, what kind of milk do you serve at home and why? Thanks for watching.